Hello, hello. We are live. Apologies for the slight delay. Hope you're all well. Let me know if I'm coming in loud and clear. If you're here live during the stream, let me know if the audio or video isn't coming through, but it looks good to me. I'll turn my mobile phone on silent. Hope you're all well. Sunday morning here in Australia, Saturday night for most of my listeners in the US, and elsewhere it's sometime in the middle of the night or afternoon, previous day. So, the topic of self-labeling, I think a lot of people touch on information that's incorrect, but the information we label ourselves as being, I'm this, as a blah, 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 and you've already boxed yourself into repeating your dogma, repeating your talking points, rather than thinking and rather than having a actual conversation and listening. You're ready to machine gun your Bible to somebody because of your own label, say. And we hear it a lot, as a single mother, as I'm a perfectionist with myself. I'm a night owl. I can't get up in the morning. Well, I proved that wrong. For the last year or so, I've really worked hard because there's no reason not to stay the same. But I wanted to be more productive in the morning, and I wanted to change my sleeping patterns because it was never consistent. And I knew whenever I did, just force myself to change the comfortable perceptions that I had about myself and the labels I gave myself. Because don't forget, we can come up with all manner of excuses to justify our labels and to feel proud of it. I can't do that because I'm a blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure everyone has got their own, and they're proud of it too, because it makes you unique as well, and you know how to do that unique label. But there's also a lot of things that you might be struggling with that if you just challenge that self-perception, it would be easier. Even though I love discussing things, I love acting upon them and testing them in the real world. That's why I go on so much about this information about dating and the manosphere and everything. It's really interesting, and gathering this information is awesome. But the real thing I'm looking forward to is testing it like a scientist with like chemicals and seeing the reaction and if it actually just works, or if it was just an interesting theory where I have to go back to the drawing board, recalculate my sums, and then try out the experiment again to see if it actually works in the real world, in my own life. And don't forget, these experiments, these theories, these labels we have about ourselves and other people, they don't, if you're not testing them, then you're just kind of egotistically sitting back and feeling good about knowing what you think is right. You're more concerned with being correct than happy. Because if you test it and you're correct, you'll be correct and happy, rather than believing you're right, but your world is not happy, or you don't have friends, or you're frustrated with women, or you can't get the job you want, or you can't get fit, or whatever. The application of theory is where the answer is. So in the same way that all of our knowledge that we learn about dating and social dynamics and the way the world is, if we don't see evidence in our own lives, if it can't make our world better in our own lives, if we can't work things out in our own empirical lives, then it doesn't really matter. We're playing a video game, we're watching a Netflix series. It's all exciting and theoretical, but without the application in the real world, something in us can't sleep at night. Something in us is always worried or defending ideas. But when you see that it works, you defend the ideas less because you've seen they're actually true. Does that all make sense? And this is why I think if you label yourself in a limited fashion where some things are easy to do, but then there's some things are frustrated with, you just can't get right or you can't do them. And your excuse is, well, I'm just not like that. I'm not a reader. I'm no good at maths. I say that a lot. I really am terrible with maths. And I know I'm labeling myself when I say that, but it's a difficulty which if I addressed it, I am not going to be naturally talented in mathematics, and it will be harder for me than other people, but I can be better in it. And if I'm having problems in my life that maths is standing in the way of, then I need to get better at maths to get to the other side where I can enjoy life and solve those problems. And I'd ask you guys, if you recognize any proud self-labels you have about yourself, but when you look at them, it's like, yeah, that's actually making it difficult for these other parts of my life, where if I didn't have that self-perceived difficulty, it would be a lot easier. I noticed it when I was growing up with friends of mine that would find it easier to socialize, to talk to girls, and I was petrified, but I had to act as though I wasn't. And even when I talked to my friends, some of them were putting on a bit of an act. They were being a little bit brave, but some of them were completely relaxed about it. They genuinely were. And I was a completely different animal. And I wanted to fix that. And again, read more, talk more, and slowly developed something to overcome that by my midlife, I was as comfortable as my friends naturally were. Now, again, you can say, well, they were naturally born that way, but I have so much proof in my life, especially the way I think and talk now, where I was largely an introvert. Again, I know it's a self-label, but I largely found myself there because it was comfortable. And I just said I couldn't do these things. I couldn't talk to people. I was afraid to speak. I couldn't say no. I was a nice guy that let people walk all over me. But then you test yourself and you don't want to be that person. And I found that aside from just talking, the things that helps me the most is acting almost counterintuitively against my own self-beliefs, because at some point when you keep butting your head against the wall, you think, I'm tired of this. What if I just try it the other way? What if instead of saying I can't do that, as a joke, as a game, let me just believe that I can for a moment. Let me just talk to myself as though I can, just as a fun joke. Let's have a laugh. I am the kind of person that can do this. And then you do it in a lighthearted way. It's a throwaway moment, a throwaway decision when you say, let me just for fun do it. You do it and you're blown away and you go, holy shit, this isn't as hard as I thought. I stopped myself from just doing this, and it was so easy to take the step, but I said, I'm the person that can't take that step. I'm just that kind of person. And there's a sense of security in having such black and white thinking about yourself, because you know yourself and that feels good. It gives you self-esteem about that thing. It feels good, but it also keeps that problem there that the excuse stops you from overcoming. And if there's a logical, objective excuse that makes sense, then it's not wrong, and you're not being afraid, and you're not being lazy, are you? Now, all we have to do is look at the woke crowd, and I'm pretty sure they've got self-labels. They've got self-labels everywhere. They've got 563 labels about who they are biologically as a person as well. So you can label yourself till the cows come home. But how many of them, if we just, as a game, decided, how about I say no to that and say yes to it and see what happens with a smile on your face? You'll be surprised how easy, and I think it's talked about in psychological or cognitive behavioral sciences. There's the thing that I think works the most I've heard of is limbic system therapy, where you don't talk your way out of problems. You don't think your way out of to a solution. You act towards the solution. So the example is someone who's always afraid. They take martial arts lessons, then they're no longer afraid. They physically challenge that I'm weak, I can't defend myself, and then you go in the direction that you want to work on it. You act in that direction. Then all of a sudden you challenge your assumptions and your beliefs about yourself. And the self-labels we have, the other thing it does is stops us from ever proving ourselves wrong. And it's very comforting for a lot of us to have a sense of security about our lives, to know we're right and know where we stand. And it's, everyone is guilty of it. And the word it shouldn't even be guilty. It's self-esteem, it's reassurance. You know how to conduct yourself in the world, and you know what to say and stand up for yourself in certain things. But proving yourself wrong and sharpening your own biases and thoughts, I think, can go a long way to make sure that you believe what you believe now, and you're not just holding on to labels that haven't moved in 10, 20, 30 years, and you still have the same problems that those labels are stopping you from getting through. Prove you could be wrong. I know there'll be people in the comment section saying, oh, so human, you think gravity doesn't exist, or I can just dodge bullets, as Neo said in The Matrix. But it's kind of like what Morpheus said, no, you won't have to if you approach them differently. So challenging your labels and your biases to physically show, oh, they're not true. Yeah, they were true before with my mindset, but they're actually not true. I've proven they're not true because I did the thing that was not impossible, but I did the thing that I thought I wasn't. I did the thing that I thought other people were, but I'm completely a different thing. It's interesting. I've done it quite a few times because, as you can tell, I'm a thinker and a talker, and it's easy to go through the same loops and you justify yourself, especially if your vocabulary, is more florid like mine, and you like thinking and discussing and philosophy, and you get stuck in your own little hole. But sometimes you go, what if? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if I try it the other way? Because the other way might not be wrong. Understand this, gentlemen and ladies, that the other way might not be wrong, but you're saying, I'm not like that. I don't do that. So it's not wrong, but instead of the way you dismiss it, because look, there's things that are objectively wrong. Okay, that's a stupid thing to do. But what if I do it this way? That's not stupid. Oh no, but I'm not like that. Again, you're just resisting something that could work. So just challenge your self-labeling, because what can happen? The downsides of self-labeling. Let's go through that, then we'll go through some of the upsides. The downsides of self-labeling, and being proud of that too, and it holds you back, is it reinforces your own self-limiting beliefs. It will always lead to the same bad results if you're sick of them. Negative self-fulfilling prophecies, right? You won't grow. You'll stay the same guy, and you'll be proud of that. Oh, I don't change. And all your high school friends from 30 years ago, you catch up and you talk about the good old days, and you're stuck in the past, right? You haven't moved at all. You got no new stories, no new insights. Your vocabulary hasn't changed. You like the same football team. Nothing has changed, and it makes you all comfortable, but you're on pause until you get buried. That's all. Your life is on pause until you get buried. Nothing new comes in. You don't experience anything new. You don't have any new fun. You don't have any refreshing moments. You might as well not go on. I think that's why people go on holidays, to replace the light bulb moments of what they could have if they do some of this stuff. Also, the downsides of self-labeling, it hinders your potential and exploration of new opportunities, that what I just mentioned. And just in a physiological level, it causes stress and anxiety when you refuse to consider another rational way of going about things or doing things. Most notably, the way you date, the way you speak or don't speak to women. Oh, I can't say no to my mother or women or my boss, or I'm too afraid to leave my job, or what if you come up with 100 excuses and catastrophizing what had happened. And it does cause a lot of stress and anxiety. If you're really certain about your own self-labeling, how you see yourself, but reality keeps kicking you in the balls, you just get frustrated and you look for more confirmation bias and more intelligent excuses to confirm why you can't change, why the world is the way it is, why women are all the same, why all jobs are the same, why there's no hope. Instead of looking for just one solution, like, how about I do it differently? How about I approach it differently? How about I turn the problem around 90 degrees and approach it from there, instead of always from exactly the same direction, like a pig-headed mule, just like approaching it and hitting your head against a brick wall. But if you turn it around, there's an opening, but you refuse to consider it because you're too smart. It leads to self-doubt as well. If you have a self-label about yourself and you stubbornly refuse to look at things differently, you know all the answers, but you're never getting any success, you're never working your problems out, it demoralizes you, it increases self-doubt, you don't trust yourself, and you decrease your self-esteem. These people out there that some of us look at and go, they're delusional, they're lucky. Why do they keep getting luck? Why do they keep failing and then picking themselves up and approaching problems a different way, or trying the same problem a different way? Because they refuse to stubbornly label themselves in such a immovable way. Like, to them, it's like there's only one way this can work, and it's a matter of just like repetition until I smash the wall down. And it's often just stupid. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're butting your head against, not a brick wall, but a fortress that you can't get through. So yeah, the psychological effects of lowered self-esteem, uncertainty, demoralization, and stubborn idealism. The best conversations I have with people is not when it's a one-way conversation, but speaking and listening. You give your point of view, and you can admit when you're wrong. How are you supposed to learn anything if you've got a stubborn, fixed label of yourself and what you believe? And if someone says, well, have you ever thought about this? And you're like, no, because I've got my Bible of all my answers and I won't let anything in. And I can't question it either. Don't question it. That's almost offensive. And I will come back defending my Bible of thought, my Bible of who I am. Notably myself, for the longest time in my life, I labeled myself as someone who hates travel. Not just that it wasn't me, I went further to make myself push it away. I'm not a traveler, I hate travel, stop bugging me. And then later on I discovered that travel isn't so bad. Actually, I really liked it. I have to admit, I had a great time. But it takes time because you think, well, I only had a good time because of this and this. It's like, no, you don't hate it. You don't. You get stuck in your own little cave. Now, the upsides of challenging your own self-perception. And before I get into the upsides, guys, if you're here and you would like to ask me a question during the stream, please add, this is an example of a question, 3 smiley faces, and I'll be able to see it during this feed because there's quite a lot of you here talking, which please feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Before I get onto the upsides of challenging your own self-perception, let me look at some of the comments during the stream. Let's see. Hello to the regulars, Neanderthal, Luke, Vero, how are you guys? Good to see you. Karu, I think I saw you there. John. All right. Let me see some of the comments. No comments. I think I came out of the gates machine gunning my ideas. But yeah, if you have your own thoughts about your self-labeling, how you've labeled yourself, and if it has in fact kept you from certain things or experiencing certain things, or you wish you're better or more relaxed in a certain way, or you're able to do things or operate around people in a certain way, but you just can't because, I'm this kind of person, or I never do this. I'm a night owl. I can't do X. I never stick to this. I can never say no to X as a people pleaser. I've talked about that in recent streams. Even people pleaser is a label. If you want to be different, stop labeling yourself that way. Again, I'm guilty of it recently as a way of describing who I was in the past, but we need to be aware of, are we talking about ourselves in the present and reinforcing it, or are we consciously aware to say, I've always been a people pleaser in the past, or this is the way I used to date, or this is how I was. Start using the language with which you'd rather be. So the language you use reinforces where you'd rather lean into. Don't say you are, say you were, if you'd rather let go of that bad habit or that bad self-perception. I hate exercise. No, you just don't want to. Oh, I hate talking to women. No, you find it uncomfortable. You wish it was easier. So I'm really, out of all the psychological or self-help stuff and all these lists and gurus, the only thing I've seen practically have any kind of traction is things like limbic system therapy. There's other words for it, where it's basically physically challenging assumptions in the real world, like making the choice you're really uncomfortable in making because it's not you, or you're not that kind of person. Like doing the thing you're afraid of doing because you know it's the right thing, and it will help you break down the walls and make your life better. That is the only thing I've actually seen, physically challenging your assumptions, not just mentally. You can't talk your way out of this, and a lot of us do, me included. I'll put my hand up. Me doing these streams, and I've had my channel for a while. But when you can actually walk the talk, your experience will become evidence of how you really are. Not what you think, not what you want, not what you're going to start doing next week or who you're going to be, and someday you're going to be an entrepreneur. No, the evidence of what you actually do will give you the reality of who you are and what you're capable of, and how easy, or if you try and you can never make any headway, and you're doing it as best you can, then you can actually say, I've tried so many times and I just can't. But if you never try, then you'll never know. So, what are the upsides of challenging our self-perception? One, it helps you stop being who you were if you're not really happy in that area. I've mentioned on my streams how for the longest time, a lot of the men's spaces really helped me early on figure things out and make sense objectively, scientifically, the nature of women and things like that. But then when I went on a date and I started talking and tried to connect with people who are like-minded and try and find a match for myself and know how to speak and let out my thoughts and be a real me with a real Jane in front of me, all that information, it couldn't really come there. That's foundational. But how I interact as a real person, that should help me. It should be a great servant, but not a good master leading me into dates. And I had to kind of master a lot of these self-perception, how I think, how I speak, what I believe, my assumptions, the stuff holding me back, like all women are this and I can't do this and I'm just not this kind of person. And it's like, no, you tell yourself and you reinforce your difficulties, and you'll never, ever be comfortable with it. You'll always be uncomfortable in that situation with people, with women, with relationships, because I can't speak up. I don't like saying that. I don't like arguments. I don't like confrontation. I grew up in a family that doesn't like confrontation. And yes, I've never liked confrontation. And I used to say, I'm just a person that doesn't like to speak. I'd rather just say yes and let Chicky Poo have her way, or let family and friends and stuff. Just don't rock the boat. Don't give what's big deal? It doesn't really matter if I give my opinion. I object, but just go along. What's the big deal? Human, no big deal. It's not going to kill you. You can always go back home and have your own life, but just accommodate everybody. You don't really need to be there in your opinion. But that's not true. And I didn't enjoy being around people because I didn't challenge that perception. I can enjoy being around people if I allow myself to be more myself, rather than labeling myself a person that doesn't like conflict or doesn't want to speak and is afraid of making people upset. So, and there's a lot of personal growth in that. I know some of these words are cheesy. I know they make people cringe, but new worlds open up that you're always keeping yourself from. I told you about travel. Worlds opened up when I traveled my assumptions about things. Give it a shot. Why not? Come on, go on a short trip. look, go on a date with a girl rather than thinking they're all the same. It's like you trust your own judgment. There's nothing wrong with this person. Go on a date. What's the worst that can happen? You waste an hour. You have at least a boring, ordinary time, as long as it's, you've vetted the person. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you try. Especially if you find that area in your life interesting and you would like it to be different, because there are too many people you see who are happy as a couple, who enjoy traveling, who have good jobs, who can write a book, who are in shape. There's just too many examples, and they're not lucky. You talk to them and they'll tell you how they did it. They tell you how they're excited. They keep it going. It didn't just happen once, it was a fluke, and then their lives returned to your life. They keep it going because of their beliefs. Talk to these people that are different. They think differently to you, and they believe of themselves differently than you believe of yourself. You'll be able to solve problems better if you can not label every problem that comes along as this is a solution and this is the way I approach it. But if you can approach problems with different solutions, like, okay, this might be the first way I solve the problem, as in this is the first way I label myself. And then, okay, I keep running against that same brick wall. Okay, let me label from the other area. Let me label the solution something differently and myself in that solution. And the net result is it enhances your self-esteem. Challenging your self-perceptions, it's a way of overcoming limitations that you set for yourself that stop you from getting things you could never get in the past, but also it gives you a greater sense of confidence and it's generated automatically. You don't aim for the confidence and self-esteem, but by challenging your weak and go nowhere assumptions that you always approach with the same key, if you try a different key, you will sort of see that challenging, like not labeling yourself like a dogmatic, say, religious person that always says, no, it's always this way and it's never another way, and never having the conversation to see that you're right or wrong, or if there's a gray area, then you'll never be able to get past the problems that you can never find solutions for. So that's just basically what I wanted to sort of convey to you about my thoughts on the limitations of your own self-perception. And also, just try something simple, like keep your ego in check. Make sure you're having a conversation and not a debate, because then again, you think you're right. You've always got a black and white thinking way of approaching things, but also you'll find better solutions. And the results of having a limited way of self-labeling yourself and things in life, and they never move because you get off on being right all the time, is you have black and white thinking, you have over certainty, right? There's never any other way. No matter how much life shows you different other ways, and other people have different results, you're going to say, oh, they were lucky, or that's not normal. We don't talk about that. You catastrophize everything because you don't want to look at things from a different point of view, and you personalize everything too much, which I do encourage when it comes to relationships, but you personalize a lot of objective stuff in life while claiming it's scientific. Again, all women. It's like, really? Well, how about, you don't approach in the same way and put down the armor for once and just have a conversation with someone. I'm not saying you need to marry them, but just go on a date and treat them like a human being. I think it's too dark here. Whoa. That is better. But yeah, anyway, let's get back here. Are there any comments? I've been blabbing a fair bit. People are saying hello, talking amongst themselves. Any comments or super chats? I haven't got live chat on. I've got top chat, where YouTube just puts up what they think is a top comment. Here we go. All right. John says, how did you overcome the travel avoidance? I have that issue. Well, it was incremental. Remember, a lot of this stuff, guys, if you're not open to it, take baby steps and see if your biases are confirmed. So if you really hate something and you realize there's too many people and you're holding yourself back from situations where all your friends say, go out for a pizza, and you're like, I hate pizza, so I won't go out with you, or I won't even try anything. What's the harm? For the greater benefit, go there and have a slice or try something else, and you'll be able to dip your toe in the shallow end and maybe see if you in fact do hate it. Most of the times you don't. We protect ourselves with with our own limiting self-labels. The way I did is I saw no reason for traveling unless it was for a purpose. So going traveling with friends and family and things like that. So you're going with them to have a good time with people. You're going to talk with them. But I saw no point in finding myself. Like, why are you going to another part of the world where you have nothing in common and then you're going to find you there? To me, that speaks to you don't like being on your own. And when you're in a place that forces you to be still, then you can look in the mirror and self-reflect. But I do a lot of self-reflection, reading. I've always been comfortable on my own. So I never bought that. And everyone said, oh, self-discovery, you find out who you are. So I went with friends first off, because that's a reason to go traveling, because you want to hang out with your friends. And someone suggests and organizes a holiday. And you think, yeah, why not? I'm going to be with my friends. It's not about traveling. It's about being with my friends. But we happen to have to travel, but so be it. It'll be fun. But I'm not attracted to travel for its own sake. So you go, and then you say, that was actually better than I thought. I thought I didn't like travel, but with my friends, it's good. And then later in my life, I went with an ex-girlfriend traveling, had a terrible time, but we argued and so on and so forth. And then we argued, and so I just decided, well, I'm going to enjoy the remainder of it on my own, or she can sulk if she wants. And I went for a jog on the beach once when I was in my 20s. I went with an ex and we had an argument. And a few times I've had arguments with exes, and that's a really good way to see if you can actually be together. And that showed me we couldn't. But I also, after the argument, I knew we both needed some space from each other. So she did part of the holiday on her own, and so did I. And I looked around because she wasn't there, and I started to enjoy and tell myself to enjoy the holiday without her, because what else am I going to do? Sit there and sulk? And I thought, I paid a bit of money for this, so I might as well get my money's worth. And then you go around and then you forget about your problems for a while, and you realize these things aren't that bad. I wouldn't pay this amount of money just to enjoy time on my own. I can do it around my own home and go for a hike or go for a drive somewhere that's similar. I don't need to go on the other side of the world to do the same thing. So little by little. And recently, a few years ago, I went on a trip to Nepal with an ex, and I really discovered how much I surprisingly enjoyed myself. And I took my camera and everything, and I had a ball. I had a terrible time with her, but it really just slowly became evident I don't hate traveling. That label I always had, that was not true, because I never saw a reason. And I'm not saying you need to for other people, but if there's an opportunity, say why not, and it's not going to cost you anything, and you might actually enjoy it more than you think. With previous exes, I labeled myself as someone who doesn't like going out and going to restaurants, and largely I don't. I like staying at home. But because the girls I went out with weren't compatible, they were largely outgoing, materialistic, and not for me, that they just wanted to be spoilt, and we were kind of distracting ourselves with a lot of that stuff because I couldn't communicate or be with them. And I thought it was the restaurant's fault or outgoing. But now with Stephanie, I like going out for breakfast. I love traveling. It's not the activity, it's the people you're with, how comfortable you feel in that environment. It's not the activity itself. So you might not hate traveling. You might not hate going out for a meal. You might not hate dating. It's the people you're around and how you label yourself with those people. If you're the same stick in the mud, if you're a political person or you're overly religious, but it's so hard for anyone to be with you, but you have a sense of comfort and certainty to be that person, then it's easy to see, well, I hate people if you're a very certain way. If you're so stubborn and you say, I hate people, it's like, well, people hate you too. You have to kind of let go a little bit. Does that make sense? I think it does. Nikos, how are you, man? He says, I find people always label you with what type of job you do, like the car you should drive or girl you should date. Yeah, that's a very common one. I think guys are more sensitive to this because we're tired of being looked at as objects and not appreciated as human beings. The first thing someone says is, so what do you do? A date, the girls say, what do you do? Because they're trying to see your status, like they can infer the amount of money you make if you're secure, if you've got a good job, and therefore they can see, oh, I can be with this person because he'll provide security and money and all that. I get it, but they don't. You become well aware they're not asking you questions about yourself. They're asking you questions about stuff and materialism. So, yeah, it's frustrating. But throw it back on them and say, if they say, what do you do? Talk about your hobbies, the things that you interest you. Don't talk about your job, even though that's what they want to know. If people ask me, what do you do? I just say, I'm creative. I do design work. I illustrate and stuff. I know they want to know what I do for a day job, but go straight into, if you can, what you do that you're passionate about. I would suggest doing that. And then if they have to be honest and then say, oh, no, what I meant was, how do you earn your money? Oh, okay, thank you. Be direct. And like, I want to let you know that you should be aware that you're being materialistic. Yes, Jeffrey says, I'm an alcoholic. That's not what I am. That's what I do lately. Sorry to say. Yeah, but if you'd rather not be, then the best way is to talk to yourself in the other direction and also not do it. You can't just be drinking nonstop and saying, well, I'm not an alcoholic, because then you're delusional. But the best way to get out of your own self-label and what keeps you stuck is to leave the old you in the past and don't allow people in your past to keep labeling you that way. My old high school buddies, they often do that. And it's like, oh, human, you're always like A, B, and C. It's like, no, not anymore. I'm not like that. Yeah, I remember I used to be like that. And they will expect that thing. I was like, I'm not like that anymore. And you have to keep reminding people, family and friends too. You know, there's a moment in time in your past. For me, I used to be late a lot and I work really hard and I'm really not that late anymore. Other people are, but that label's stuck. And I have to remind people, no, I'm one of the first here. You're stuck on who I was 20 years ago. So people get stuck on your labels. You get stuck on your labels. Your old labels are reinforced by other people and not just you. So you have to be aware of these and how they limit you. If you'd rather not be, if you don't want to be accused for being late, don't be late and tell people you're not late anymore. When's the last time I was late? I was the first one here. You know, you give them proof. You give evidence of who you're not anymore. You give evidence, as I said, that you're not that label anymore because you don't do it anymore. Act in a way that challenges your label and doesn't make it real anymore. Let me see. Mr. Anderson, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Feel free to super chat, guys, and donate if you feel like it. Super chat will always get read out during a live stream. I don't always get to see the rest of them, but if you can, if you don't feel like super chatting and you would like me to sort of see it, add 3 smiley faces before your comment. Mr. Anderson says, with respect, people who enjoy a thing often struggle to accept others who do not share their tastes. I do not like chocolate, ASMR, or dating. It must be due to a flaw in me, as if the observer is the standard. Yeah. And that perception is really healthy. See, the way you're speaking, Mr. Anderson, goes a long way to kind of, you're able to perceive what others are doing, and you'll probably be able to change your own behavior to modify your own behavior in ways in which you'll be able to improve and adjust your life for the better. But a lot of people are just stuck in their old behaviors, and they think, well, I don't understand. Why don't you like what I like? Why can't you think the way I think? I really, no, you're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. I just think differently to you, or I might have been a certain way, but now I've changed. Oh, you've changed, man. Yeah, I have. You haven't. Some of these questions, I can't read the phrasing, guys. Make sure you phrase it the right way. I'm not sure what you mean. And make sure you put 3 smiley faces or yellow emojis. because I don't often see other shapes or colors. I'm reading against the black background. So yes. I really think the solution to most of this, first you gather the information. The knowledge is great. Dating knowledge out there, social knowledge and all of that, and what we're all like. But you have to start practicing it and seeing what works. And if it doesn't work, try something else that could work. And if you're labeling yourself, you're stopping yourself from finding solutions that will work in your life. And if you don't want to find solutions, I don't know why you watch my channel. Seriously. There's a limit to theory. You do the experiment. And if it doesn't work, go back to the drawing board, redo the sums, and approach it from a different direction and with a different formula. I don't know what else to tell you. The solution to all of these things is action, but the solution is always by the things you're avoiding, gentlemen and ladies. So if that's all, I think I'm done. 40-minute stream, Sunday. I can't remember when the last time I did this. So let me know your thoughts. I'll keep the stream going for another couple of minutes. You guys gather your thoughts. If you've got any questions for me or comments or super chats, please leave them now before I end the stream, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Make it a short comment with a question mark and with 3 smiley faces before your question or comment, and I'll read it out before we end the stream as I go through some of your comments. But I think it's very easy to point at the world and the labels they put on us. Because remember, we don't like these labels, like what men need to be, how we need to step up. Do you care about who I am, what I think? No, apparently, most people don't. Chicky poo and most people in your private life and socially, they don't care. You're just supposed to do your job. But their labels of us we don't like. But we don't realize sometimes how we believe their labels of us. We come up with labels to protect ourselves from them. Like, I'm like this, therefore I can't do what they want, or I can't poke my head out of my tortoise shell because this is who I am. No, you can, but you don't have to do it their way. And you don't have to care about their way if they don't care about you. So labels by them or by you can really be limiting and restrictive. So, hello to Chris Rocket. How are you, man? Melee. Karu. Some of the comments I can't read. All right, guys, if there's no further super chats or comments with emojis before the comments, unless, I wonder if YouTube is deleting any comment with emojis. I wonder if they're doing that. I doubt it, though. Action in the end, action is the only solution. It really is. Mr. Anderson says, if I don't listen to those whom I disagree, I close myself off to the possibility of being wrong, yes, and implementing change. The other path is that of the echo chamber. Exactly. Look, how many times, the movies I watch, right? Think about it, guys. When's the last time you watched a good movie, a great movie? It's not often, right? But when you do, what happens is that the movie pleasantly surprises you. You watch a movie and you think, it's going to be another one of these. And then it's written well. And then there's a twist. And there's like, I didn't see that coming. And then you're pleasantly surprised that your biases before watching the movie were not met. It was like, that was awesome. Like, I thought I knew what it was before going in, but it completely changed my mind. And I'm glad I watched it and I remember that movie. And those are great things. They're really great things. And they allow you to learn more and not be, as Mr. Anderson said, or Anderson says, be an echo chamber. Because if you're an echo chamber, all you start to do, and I've noticed this on servers with guys who all they do is repeat the memes of certain groups on the internet, and I can't have a conversation with them because all they're doing is talking to me with memes and not a conversation. It's like, can you just drop that and talk to me like a normal human being? Have the vocabulary of the memes, sure, but don't talk to me in memes. Don't keep repeating the same words created by people that were smarter or more insightful than you. When you listen to Jordan Peterson, he's not spitting memes. His vocabulary is dancing, and that's the way he speaks. No one can accuse him of just like hammering memes at people. He's talking as himself. And the more you learn to express yourself, you recognize when people don't. John says, human may be looking for content, so I'll share this. When he uses Stephanie in an example, he acts like the Baroque painter Vermeer who provides glimpses into an idealized domestic scene. Perhaps. Yeah, like I'm providing, like all I can do is illustrate, because I can't really provide you exactly the way I see things. I can keep talking around it to further illustrate the point of view I have in my life. But I'm not trying to paint a perfect picture for you. But I am trying to, in a very short space of time, illustrate with my words what I think, where I am, how I've changed, and what I see now as compared to 5 or 10 years ago. So, all right, if there's no other interesting comments or questions or things you guys want to share, we can wrap this up. But I just want to leave you with not just the labels people give on us that we know we don't like and we don't appreciate. Think about the labels you're giving yourself that you're comfortable with that also you shouldn't like, because they're keeping you from speaking better, not stressing over jobs, women, or whatever, being able to, keep the habit of something that you just procrastinate and you push away because you've got excuses. I'm not a morning person, therefore I can't get in shape. I'm not a night person either. I can't be bothered going for a run. I don't like gyms. There are a lot of self-labels that we do. So it's not just other people's labels that we objectively all can agree on that we don't appreciate, but our own labels is a blind side that we should also reject or question and say, hang on a minute, let's see. Quiet for a minute, let me see if it's true. Let me try it to see if I do hate it. Let me really put in an effort to show up and have a bit of courage and speak my mind and speak better and things like that, and be honest about things, not hide, not be avoidant. Like myself, I'm an avoidant person. I'm a nice guy. I'm like, no, you just are afraid, or you don't want to speak your mind, or you avoid conflict. You don't have the courage to just be honest. But here, or in my diary, I do. Why can't I do this with other people? There you go. There's a truth. There's a disparity there, and I have to get better at being less conflict avoidant. So the labels you give yourself are often convenient, intelligent excuses. So action at the end of the day, honest testing of these theories and testing of your labels and their labels of you is the only way to resolve things and work them out. And if they don't work, go back to the drawing board, think about them, talk about them with other people, and then try again if they're important to you. If they're not, don't. If dating's not important to you, don't date. If you're a person and you live for having a family, you've got to find a way around it. You do. It's your life. At the end of the day, everything I say, at the end of the day, it's your life and you can do what you want. And I'm not going to say you're wrong, because all of these choices you make in your life are yours to make. They're subjective. So you could ask me and I say, no, I wouldn't do it. I think it's silly, but it's not objectively silly. If something's important and enough people do it, and it's not socially destructive, and there is some honesty to it, do what you want, but just go about it the right way. All right. Neanderthal says, I feel stupid. I can't fully understand what human is talking about today. I'm talking about making choices and not labeling yourself. This is more of a philosophical discussion today. I'm not talking about relationships directly, but limiting yourself by being so certain that you are a certain way and aren't a certain way, or can talk and can't talk. I just want you to realize that you're limiting yourself by how certain you are in these areas. Because if you're always frustrated and you're going in a loop, maybe you should change your labels or how you label other people. So today is more of a philosophical or cerebral discussion on how you think and how you go about things and your perception. It's not the usual men and women. I'm not using them as an example. And this is why I refrain from using men and women as an example, because it's the easiest one in terms of dealing with the world and other people and choices you make. This is why I use it, because it's very clear about making decisions and doing the right thing, using men and women in relationships as an example. But today I didn't just want to talk about that. It's how you think about yourself, the labels you put on yourself that stop you and give you problems with women and relationships. So it's a step before. So it's not about them. It's not about the date. It's not about the marriage. It's not about their expectations later. It's not about all those steps later. I'm talking about the first step of how you think about yourself and what you believe in, and how you're limiting yourself from speaking up and things like that. So I know it's not the usual conversation, but I think it's an important one. I think some people will find it interesting, like the more philosophically inclined out there. And I have these conversations with Karu quite a bit. And so I think it's important. Is Rocket here? I didn't see him. Big Ol, how are you? Mr. Adams, how are you? All right, guys and girls, if there are any here, I don't think there are. Let's wrap it up. It's almost an hour. I am finishing a stream in under an hour. I haven't done that in a long time. So let me know your comments below. Join the channel. If you have a microphone, jump on Gilded after this. A whole bunch of us get on there. Remember, if you want to ask a question, yellow emojis before the question, guys, not after, before. It's not complicated. I'll read your comment out, but let's see. Taz Devil says, would you say dating is selfish if you are not doing it to start a family? No. Oh, yeah, yes. Almost everything people do is selfish. I don't think there's really a selfless act. I don't really think there is. But yeah, dating's selfish. It's selfish. Having kids is selfish. Eating a donut's selfish. I mean, you could argue eating in and of itself is not, but you want to survive, so it's your will. Otherwise, don't eat. But you want to because you want to survive. The word want is there. So whatever you want, everything's selfish, I think. Let me know in the comments. Can you point to something that's objectively not selfish? I don't know if I can. Chris says, human is limiting himself. I am limiting myself by being with Stephanie because I'm limiting my options with other women. That I am. That's objective. And the time in which I spend with Stephanie, as opposed to when I had all the time to do whatever I wanted and not have to put time into a relationship, or, you know, I can't talk to someone else. And so I either talk with you guys, or if I'm on my own, I go and visit people and I spend my time differently. So you do limit yourself in certain ways, but then you do expand yourself in other ways. So it's about allocating time and where you choose to and the trade-offs. So yeah, look, I can agree. I'm limiting myself with Stephanie. I'm limiting myself right now doing this stream because I can't do other things. William saying, attending humans live stream is selfish. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Have a good weekend. Let me know your comments below. Was this confusing for you? It's more a philosophical discussion, so it's very hard without focusing too much on after the thinking, the choices you make. Then it becomes about the results of choice and blame and, you know, right and wrong. But how we think before we make decisions and how we think about ourselves and how stubborn we are, how we label ourselves, it can really help us into being a different person or a more relaxed person later on a date. Not being so afraid, being able to more easily start the diet, more easily get in shape, more easily stop procrastinating by getting rid of the labels we're so sure of on ourselves. And just remember, in the same way you don't like people labeling you that you're no longer that person, you should question whether or not you like the labels you give yourself as well, and if they're stopping you from making your life easy as you're going forward. All right, William says, what are you doing for episode 200? What episode is this, actually? This episode is 193. Ooh, interesting. I don't know. I do have one or two ideas, but yeah, we might make episode 200 a big one. When will that happen? That'll probably happen, I would say, in a month and a half, I'd say. Yeah, about a month and a half, maybe. So stay tuned. All right, guys, have a good weekend. Anyway, I'm blabbing. This is starting to be a waste of digital space. So, all right, guys. John says, not sure if there's a problem, but the connection section doesn't appear to be active. The connection section, really? As in, the comments section doesn't appear to be active, really? Maybe they freeze it until the live session is over. That maybe YouTube wants you to participate actively, leave your comments here, and then as soon as the stream is over, then you can leave comments in the comments. Maybe that's what's happening, because certainly after the stream is finished, you're able to leave comments. So I just think that's normal. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. All right, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed the podcast. Boho Andy. Yeah, I think it's a refreshingly different one to not just talk about the results of women and other people and what we experience, but also our own thinking before we actually get there. How can we be better, prouder, more confident, and get over our own internal hurdles and roadblocks to be able to have a better time, more relaxed time, more open time, talking about what we want to and being who we are, things like that. So self-labeling, investigate it. And it's another form of this is called confirmation bias. A lot of people online just keep looping their confirmation biases around, proving that they're right all the time. So just have a think about it. Comments down below. Jump on Gilded if you have a microphone after this stream and have a chat with each other. Continue the conversation, and I will see you in the next stream or video. And later this afternoon, if you guys are still on, I might pop my head in, because after this stream, I have life stuff to do. But I'll pop in later on and see if any of you are on Gilded, if you're still on. Enjoy the day or evening, and I'll catch you in the next video, guys. And yeah, remember, adjust old ideas, old biases. I forgot to put that up, but important to think about. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.